A new Giannis trade update has just dropped as ESPN's Brian Windhorst gives the details about the current status of a Giannis trade and whether or not the Houston Rockets can bring him to Houston and have him team up with Kevin Durant, making for one of the best duos in NBA history. Welcome to Rockets Digest. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo, and it is officially free agency time in the NBA. Teams can now start discussing with free agents of potential deals to make. And so, for all your updates, if you want to stay up to date on what those conversations are looking like, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel. We're going to be covering all of it, giving you all the analysis, all the details of those contracts right here on this channel. So, go ahead, hit that bell below. Now, as for today, we're talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. As many of you know, he has been the subject of many trade talks this offseason, him being open-minded to leaving the Milwaukee Bucks for the first time in his career. And so now we're going to give you an update on what that status looks like. It's free agency time. It's time for teams to make deals. What is the status on currently the NBA's biggest trade asset this offseason? So I want to give you the rundown of what NBA Central has tweeted right here, saying teams like the Spurs, the Heat, Rockets, and Knicks have stayed out of other major trades this offseason in hopes of potentially acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that comes from Brian Windhorst, who was on Get Up this morning, who talked a little bit about Giannis's situation. And he had three quotes that I felt were very, very important for us to say and for us to talk about today. And it starts with this one right here. Quote, Giannis has sort of let them off the hook to a certain extent. That's the Milwaukee Bucks. He did not apply pressure this offseason by sort of making it clear that he didn't necessarily want to be there. He's basically done his regular offseason, gone overseas, and been with his family. Interesting for this update to come out. As we've seen with the NBA a lot, big stars kind of can ask for certain things if they're feeling a certain type of way of teams that they want to go to. We saw it with Kevin Durant this offseason. He was not happy in Phoenix, wanted out. He told management, he was like, hey, I know y'all want to do what's best for the team, but at the same time, my preferred destinations are San Antonio, Houston, and Miami. And eventually, him and his agent were able to find a deal that sent him to Houston. Lucky us, right? And so we've seen that pattern a lot with players and teams that they want to go to. And so to hear Giannis not putting any pressure is very. I expect that from Giannis, right? I don't expect him to put that kind of pressure on Milwaukee, who he is grateful towards, who he has won a championship with. Completely expected for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But it's very important in terms of what deals are getting done. Phoenix was kind of told, like, hey, I want out. They knew that they had to use whatever leverage they could, and if they waited longer and longer, they wouldn't have that leverage. With Milwaukee, there is more leverage to them than the Suns because, Giannis is simply open-minded, right? He's thinking about it. He's not saying, hey, I want out immediately. And so that's the situation we're currently in, right? But at the same time, teams are knocking, right? Can Milwaukee put together a championship team that Giannis wants, right? Giannis has been on the record. He stated, I want to win another championship. It's very important to him personally. And if Milwaukee cannot do that, then there's potential of Giannis's mind changing, of applying a little bit of more pressure, of Giannis seeing what they are going to do in the offseason and free agency, kind of looking at it and going, hey, this is not a championship caliber team. And Brian Windhorst talks a little bit about it as well. We're going to go to his second quote that he has mentioned earlier today, saying, quote, and the Bucks, who are really strapped, which is very important, by the way, because they don't have any of their first-round picks for the next few years, so not a lot of assets available. Going back to the quote, and the Bucks, who are really strapped, I don't see as much as they can do. A lot of teams that think they can trade for Giannis have been watching this very closely. Teams like San Antonio or Houston or Miami or New York, they specifically have stayed out of other major transactions. In Houston's case, saved assets in the Durant trade to potentially chase Giannis. Now, the first thing I want to address is I agree with him. Like, I don't think Milwaukee I don't think there's much Milwaukee can do this offseason to give Giannis that championship caliber team. I don't think it's in the cards for them. They don't have a lot of stuff to trade away, considering they don't have those first round picks. They don't have any control over them. Their biggest asset right now is Giannis, right? I think you're looking at a time where they're going to have to rebuild, right? Who you rebuild around is still a question mark. You can't really build around Damian Lillard. He's uh, a bit older, currently hurt right now. It won't be back for a while. And so it's a big question mark over there in Milwaukee. They could just run it back and just say, hey, this is the team. Let's do our best. But I think anyone can look at it and be like, this isn't a team that will go very far in the playoffs. I think they'll make it, but I don't think a playoff run is in the cards. A deep playoff run is in the cards for this Milwaukee team. Now, the other thing to monitor, Houston is not the only team interested in Giannis, obviously. With a guy like Giannis, you're going to have a lot of teams vying for him, right? So you have a big market team with the New York Knicks who would absolutely love to have Giannis play in Madison Square Garden every single day. You have a team like the Miami Heat who missed out on the KD trade talks, with kind of a sneaky team, kind of sneaking in there and being like, hey, what about us? But at the same time, a very appealing destination, Miami, a great city for a lot of people to play in. We saw LeBron go there in free agency, Chris Bosh as well, and so they're very, very, very well coached team as well. So I feel like those are all very appealing factors for Giannis. And on the other hand, there's San Antonio, who also was in the KD trade talks, did not get KD, obviously. So they still have a lot of the assets that they would be willing to offer the Bucks in a potential trade. Now, as we have noted on this channel before, Milwaukee is going to ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars in a potential Giannis trade. That is what one NBA executive said about the matter. They're going to need a lot of players for Milwaukee, for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They understand that they don't have those controlled picks, that they're not going to be able to get a lot of players via draft in the next few years. And so the best thing for them would be to acquire a bunch of young guys who have a lot of potential, who are very solid NBA players right now, to complement Damian Lillard whenever he returns, to complement the team that they have now and be starters, be role players. And so they're going to ask for a lot for Giannis. A Giannis trade would be much more than a KD trade, right? KD is at the end of his career. Giannis is what, 30? Honestly, could play like 10 more years if he wanted to. But he has a lot of time left to play in the NBA. I mean, going to his stats, I mean, it's quite frankly ridiculous. You see the 30 points per game. You see the rebounds. It's one of the greatest players in NBA history, and he has a lot of upside with any team. Any team he would be on would be an absolutely cheat code for any team to have. But at the same time, it's what can the Houston Rockets offer that makes sense? Now, I think in my mind, the Houston Rockets would offer the best they can. I think they have a certain limit that they are not willing to go past. What that limit is a little bit of a question right now, right? Because you did already acquire KD. You gave up Jalen Green. You gave up Dillon Brooks. You just signed Jabari Smith Jr. to a $122 million contract to keep him around until the 2030-2031 season. You're bringing back Fred VanVleet. And so I look at all those things and I view those moves as, hey, we are investing in these guys. We believe that they are key pieces into a championship team. And if you were to make a trade for Giannis, right, you kind of break that a little bit. It would be, to me, a little off-brand. As great as Giannis would be to have on this team, I think it would be a great starting lineup. I look at the depth. I am concerned of whether or not we have the depth necessary to fulfill what a championship team looks like. You look at the Pacers, you look at the Thunder, you see their depth, and you can't help but think, like, this is why they won. Yes, it's because of Shea. Yes, it's because of Jalen Williams. Yes, it's because of Chet Holmgren. But you need depth if you want to win a championship in the NBA. And so that's the only concern that I currently have in a potential, Giannis trade. As great as Giannis would be to have on this team. Now, the last thing that Brian Windhorst, pointed out on Get Up this morning, and it's something I touched on a little bit, saying that, quote, and the reason they did that was because, this is referring to Houston saving their assets and all those teams, and the reason they did that was because they are not sure that Giannis is going to look at the Bucks' work and think that's a team that can compete either. So that's Mr. Windhorst's prediction, right? Giannis is going to see what Milwaukee has done in the offseason, and he's just not going to buy it, right? He knows what it takes to win a championship. He had that 2021 championship team. If he's comparing the two teams, they're not built the same. They're built different. But Giannis knows, and there's no fooling Giannis, and so I could see a future where Giannis sees what they have and say, hey, I do want to seek that trade. I do want to go to a team that would give me a better chance to make that trade. Now, whether or not this is a deal that will happen this offseason or whether it's a deal that will happen at the trade deadline of next season, right? It's still something to monitor as Milwaukee's season goes on, as the Rockets' season goes on. But it's all up to change, subject to change. So it's going to be interesting to see this be monitored and see how it all plays out, and see whether or not the Houston Rockets decide to make a move or not. And so I want you to let me know in the comments what you think about a potential Giannis trade, whether it happens this offseason, whether it happens at the trade deadline. Would you be willing to give up some of our players and some of our draft picks for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think we will have the depth, or do you think Giannis, screw it, Giannis will be the guy, he will get us there? KD, Giannis, can't ask for a better duo than that. But let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to hear y'all's thoughts about this and what you guys think about a potential, another superstar coming to Houston. So let me know down there. And as always, subscribe if you have not already. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo. We'll see you on the next one.